Imagine a colossal empire, one that had ruled with an iron fist and grand splendor, crumbling bit by bit like an overbaked cookie. That's Rome for you, the once great empire that dominated the ancient world. The fall of Rome isn't just a single event. It's more of a tragic, centuries-long drama filled with plot twists, betrayals, and sheer chaos. Before we get right into the video, please smash the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out. Let's rewind to the glory days when Rome was at its zenith. Picture massive legions marching in perfect harmony, gladiators battling in the Colosseum, and emperors draped in purple robes, basking in their own magnificence. But beneath this shiny surface, cracks were already beginning to show. The Roman Empire was a beast of a machine, and like all beasts, it needed constant feeding. Expansion was both its lifeblood and its curse. With each conquered territory came new resources and wealth, but also more borders to defend and more people to manage. The empire grew so vast that governing it became akin to juggling flaming swords while riding a unicycle. Things were bound to get wobbly. Internal strife played a starring role in this epic downfall. Political instability was the order of the day. Emperors were being overthrown left, right, and center. In a span of just 50 years, Rome had over 20 emperors. It was like a revolving door of power, with each new emperor less competent or more paranoid than the last. The once disciplined Roman legions turned into a bunch of bickering factions, more interested in backing their chosen leaders than defending the empire. As if the homegrown chaos wasn't enough, external pressures mounted. Barbarian tribes, often romanticized as the rugged bad boys of history, began knocking on Rome's door. Goths, Vandals, Huns, these were not your average party crashers. The Visigoths, led by their fiery king Alaric, sacked Rome in 410 AD. Imagine the shockwaves this sent through the ancient world. The city that had stood invincible for centuries was brought to its knees by a bunch of barbarians. But wait, there's more. Economic woes compounded the misery. The empire's coffers were drying up, drained by constant wars and over-the-top spending on lavish projects. Inflation soared, and the once mighty Roman currency became as valuable as monopoly money. Trade routes were disrupted, and with less money to pay the legions, loyalty was bought at a discount. The rich got richer, the poor got poorer, and social unrest simmered like a pot about to boil over. Religious transformations also added spice to the mix. The rise of Christianity shifted the cultural and spiritual landscape. While initially persecuted, Christians eventually gained the upper hand, and in 380 AD, Christianity became the state religion. This created rifts within the empire as traditional Roman values and beliefs clashed with the new Christian ideology. The administrative division of the empire into East and West in 285 AD by Emperor Diocletian was another pivotal moment. The idea was to make the unwieldy empire more manageable, but it often had the opposite effect. The Eastern Roman Empire, with its capital in Constantinople, became increasingly separate and more prosperous, while the Western Roman Empire, centered in Rome, struggled with internal decay and external threats. By the late 5th century, the Western Roman Empire was on its last legs. In 476 AD, the final nail was hammered into the coffin when the Germanic chieftain Odoacer deposed the last Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus. It was an anticlimactic end to a saga that had spanned over a millennium. The Eastern Roman Empire, or Byzantine Empire, would continue for another 1,000 years, but the Western Roman Empire had sung its swan song. To add to the chaotic mix, the once invincible Roman military began to falter. Roman legions, the backbone of the empire, were not what they used to be. Over time, the reliance on mercenaries who had little loyalty to Rome increased. These mercenaries were often from the very barbarian tribes that threatened the empire. It was like hiring the wolf to guard the sheep. Inevitably, when push came to shove, these hired swords were more interested in personal gain than the glory of Rome. Let's not forget the plague, which made a dramatic entrance and wreaked havoc on an already strained population. The Antonine Plague in the 2nd century and the later Cyprian Plague further thinned out the Roman population, leading to labor shortages and a weakened military. With fewer hands to work the land and fight the wars, the empire's infrastructure began to crumble. The decline wasn't just physical, but also moral and cultural. The once unifying Roman virtues of discipline, duty, and civic pride started to fade. The opulence and decadence of the elite contrasted sharply with the grinding poverty of the masses. Bread and circuses became a way to placate the public, distracting them from the grim realities with grand spectacles and free grain. but such measures were temporary fixes for deep-seated problems. By the end of the 4th century, Rome was a shadow of its former self. The Western Roman Empire, unable to fend off continuous invasions, saw its territories being carved up by various barbarian kingdoms. Gaul, Spain, North Africa, all fell one by one. The empire was like a mighty oak being eaten away by termites, rotting from the inside while still appearing formidable from a distance. As Rome's power waned, the rise of the Germanic kingdoms heralded a new era. These were not just mindless hordes but organized groups that established their own domains on the ruins of the Roman Empire. The Ostrogoths in Italy, the Visigoths in Spain, and the Franks in Gaul began to build the foundations of medieval Europe. What could have prevented the fall of Rome? The answer lies in addressing the core issues that plagued the empire, offering a fascinating mix of strategic reforms, visionary leadership, and some good old-fashioned luck. First and foremost, political stability was key. Rome's revolving door of emperors created an environment of chaos and uncertainty. If the empire had established a more stable and transparent system of succession, perhaps akin to a constitutional monarchy, or even an early form of representative government, it might have fostered a more stable political climate. Emperors would need to be more accountable, reducing the frequency of power struggles and the assassination games that turned the Roman political scene into a bloody soap opera. Military reforms were also crucial. The Roman legions, once the epitome of discipline and effectiveness, had become a fragmented mess. Re-establishing a professional, loyal, and well-compensated army could have made a huge difference. Instead of relying on mercenaries with questionable loyalties, the empire needed a core military force that was invested in the survival and prosperity of Rome. Regular training, fair wages, and benefits for soldiers and their families could have ensured a more motivated and dedicated military. Economic resilience was another vital area. Rome's economy was a tangled web of inefficiencies plagued by inflation, heavy taxation, and over-reliance on slave labor. Implementing fiscal reforms to stabilize the currency, promote trade, and encourage innovation in agriculture and manufacturing would have provided a stronger economic foundation. Diversifying the economy to reduce dependency on conquered territories for resources and wealth could have insulated Rome from the shocks of losing provinces. Addressing social inequality would have also played a significant role. The vast gap between the rich and the poor created a simmering pot of discontent. Land reforms to redistribute wealth and provide more opportunities for the lower classes could have quelled some of the social unrest. Investing in public services like education, healthcare, and infrastructure would have created a more cohesive and loyal citizenry, less prone to rebellion and more inclined to support the state. In the end, the fall of Rome wasn't an explosion but a slow, painful implosion. The seeds of decline were sown in the very fabric of its success: overexpansion, internal discord, economic mismanagement, and an over-reliance on external forces. It was a tale of grandeur and folly, a reminder that even the greatest empires are not immune to the relentless march of time and the weight of their own ambitions. The fall of Rome remains a timeless story of how the mighty can fall, not with a bang, but with a prolonged, agonizing whimper. And like any good story, it's filled with lessons for those who choose to heed them.